Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to another Moralis video. This is an updated video for the NFTs and 721 token standard. It's not secret that NFTs have taken the world by storm, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. They continue to be a hot topic on the news and online. On this video, we'll dive into what ERC721 token standard is, what's the difference between this token and the ERC20 token standard, and we are also going to touch slightly another NFT standard that exists and their unique features. So if you are interested on NFTs and want to learn more, keep watching because we are just getting started. The ERC20 token standard was the first standard which comes out from Ethereum or for Ethereum. The ERC20 token is fungible. It means you can exchange any ERC20 token with another, as they are always going to have the same value. For that reason, the ERC20 token standard is really good for managing money, reward points, or anything fungible. So for example, if I have $1 and you have $1, we can exchange them and they are going to have always the same value. On the other hand, if we both have a house and if we want to change the deeds, they are not going to be the same, as each house has its own value, and that is what we call non-fungible, because the deed is related to an asset, the house, which is unique and has its own particular and unique value. That's why they are called non-fungible tokens or NFTs. And when the standard was released, the proposed use cases applies for both digital and physical ownership. With NFTs, you can have ownership of digital assets such as art, a digital terrain, or a video game asset. But we can also tokenize real-world assets. For example, we have Ubiquity, which uses NFTs for house deeds. We can also have real art tokenized, concert seats, or airplane seats. And there are non-fungible tokens because there are obvious difference between one seat and another. You have also VIP areas and the most common areas as well. In that case, each seat works as a NFT. This is basically how the structure of what non-fungible tokens are. But how to implement that practically? Well, that's another question. Because to apply in this non-fungibility, you cannot use the ERC20 token standard, because on that standard there are not difference between tokens. One ERC20 token is going to be always the same as another ERC20 token. And on ERC20, all what matters is balances. How many tokens a specific wallet holds. So you won't be able with that standard to tie those tokens to any certain uniqueness. So that's why the NFT token standard was proposed on the ERC721. And by the way, the reason it has its number is because it's named based on the issue. So the standard was proposed on the 721 issue. Yeah, the naming for the token standards are not that creative, but if you ever wonder why we use different numbers for each standard, well, it's based on which was the issue the standard was proposed. So here on GitHub we can check the abstract for the suggestion for 721 token, as it was an improvement proposal for Ethereum. And as you can see here, the abstract says the following standards allows for the implementation of the standard APIs for NFTs within smart contracts, provides basic functionality to track and transfer NFTs, we consider the use cases of NFTs, blah blah blah, and at the end it says almost the same as I told you. You can tokenize physical properties such as houses and unique artwork, virtual collectibles, unique pictures of kittens like CryptoKittens, CryptoPunks, or any NFT collection art, collectible cards. You can also use it for negative valued assets like loans, burdens, or other responsibilities in general. And this standard has some similarities with the ERC20 token standard, such as the transfer function or the balance of function. But we have something new over here, like this owner of function. And the reason is because the structure of a ERC721 is different, as you don't have balances in the same way as ERC20s. I cannot own two NFTs at the same time because each one of those is different. So even though I have 2 Pikachu NFTs, for example, as they are not fungible, they are not interchangeable between them, as they have different stats and characteristics which makes them unique. So the value of one Pikachu is different from another Pikachu. The ERC721 contract maps a token ID to a owner, and it can only be one for each token ID. So you can have one NFT or 100 NFTs, they are all going to be different. And if you're not a developer, we strongly suggest you to learn some Solidity and check out the contract because it has a lot of interesting parts. And also, if you want to learn how to code these smart contracts, remember we have Moralis Academy, on which you have excellent courses for the Web3 space, and also on this YouTube channel you can check them out clicking on the channel name and see all our videos with a lot of tutorials. So as I said, this was the issue 721 for Ethereum, and as they got popular we end up standardizing it, such as we did with the ERC20. And this is really important because as the network grows, the Ethereum network, having a standard that everyone uses is key to have interoperability. Now, a common misconception with these tokens is important for you to know if you have any aspiration to create your own or understanding them to make an investment is that the actual token itself on the smart contract does not hold any data such as the images or the text. The reason is that storing that type of data is really expensive and not worth it. When the token standard was proposed and people start using it, they found that if they wanted to store on the blockchain the information, for example, the actual image of their digital art, the gas cost for storing that image were actually too high, and they end up paying like 80 bucks, 200 bucks, even 1000 bucks on extreme cases for storing that information. So, to solve this problem, engineers and smart contract developers came up with an idea. Use something called token URI, which is a reference containing the metadata of the actual NFT. It could be the image, the audio file, and also the attributes. And the actual information of the NFTs gets stored on another server. And the most common practice on the Web3 community is to use something called IPFS, or Interplanetary File System, which at the end of the day is a decentralized way of storage, kind of, because they are not 100% decentralized, but at least you have a way to store big amounts of data on a almost decentralized way. But wait a second, if the actual asset is not stored on the blockchain, why should you want to use blockchain at all? Well, it's because you are creating a registry of ownership which is decentralized and easily proven. So, for example, if you want to store the deed of your house, of course you are not going to store the house on the blockchain, that's ridiculous. But what you are going to do is to store a proof of ownership of that house, which cannot be manipulated as the blockchain is, well, immutable. Let me give you another potential use case for this. Even though anyone can, let's say, download the image of your NFT, no one can use it for commercial purposes or claim its ownership. For example, if you transform a new song you made into an NFT, instead of licensing it to a recording studio, you can just claim the ownership of it, creating an NFT, and if someone would want to use that song on a movie or on a project, they would have to pay you for its rights, as the song is registered on the blockchain as yours, with the advantage that on the blockchain we use pseudo-anonymous wallets. And it means that you don't need to relate the wallet address to your personal name or personal ID, so you can trade with this asset anonymously. However, if you're using NFT assets, for example, for a video game, the attributes of that asset should actually be stored on the blockchain. Because if you want your system to be fair, the attributes, let's say the attack, the speed, or whatever you're using for your video game, should actually be stored on the blockchain as a variable, even though the gas costs are higher, because that way you are ensuring that that data cannot be manipulated. And another good point to know is there is another standard which is in certain way in competition with the ERC721 standard, and is the ERC1155. And if you want a specialized video explaining what that standard is, please let us know on the comments below. But in big words, the problem with ERC721 is that each contract is for a specific type of NFTs. So let's say you have a contract for concert tickets on which you are going to map each seat, each token ID to a buyer or an owner. That's okay if you just have one event, but what if you have a company with a lot of concerts? You would have to create a contract for each one of them, and that's not efficient at all. So the ERC1155 proposal is that you can have multiple types of NFTs for the same contract and also add more later on. So you don't have to deploy a lot of contracts. You can just deploy one and save you cost and make your operation more efficient. And again, if you want a specialized video on that matter, please let us know on the comments below. And that was it. Now you understand what the ERC721 token standard is and how it works and why we call it non-fungible. Finally, remember that no matter which standard you will want to use, once your smart contract is deployed to the blockchain, you will need to get the information out of it on the most efficient, fastest and better way. And for that, the obvious response is Moralis. We are the leading API service for the Web3 space, providing you the fastest API to get information of any smart contract and also have live notifications when any event is triggered on the blockchain. So don't forget to check out moralis.io, check our free and paid plans, and if you want to put your project to production, consider upgrading to Moralis Pro. That was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please also let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed this type of content on which we are not coding any project but instead just explaining concepts for Web3 and crypto. That was it for my part, and I'll see you on the next occasion. See ya!